I want to start, as usual, by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and will lead as examples to the flock. Peace and blessings to the elect, starting with the 144,000, the men who are out there pushing this word with our sincerity, who are part of that class above, the rest of Israel, and of course, peace and blessings to the rest of the elect, the large multitude of men, women, and children whom the Lord has foreordained to receive mercy. Shalom. Now, this lesson is going to be, centered around controlled opposition, from the standpoint of, putting brothers on guard, as it pertains to things that we may encounter, on the internet, on social media in particular, that may seem to echo the same values that we seem to echo, but then have a sinister agenda woven into it, men that may be in the camp, in the affiliate camps, maybe somebody that's outside the camp listening in on a regular basis, just be mindful of, everything, be circumspect. This is a tactic, of the enemy that we should be very, very aware of, So pretty much this was sparked, through the Spirit, a couple of days back, the Spirit pretty much was on me to ask this question of the Meta AI that comes with WhatsApp and Instagram. So I asked, the Meta AI, what is controlled opposition? And this is the response that I got, and I got so much good responses that I wanted to build a video around it, and get some precepts, right? So it says controlled opposition refers to a situation where an individual or group, often presenting themselves as opposing or criticizing a particular ideology, government, or institution, is actually being manipulated or influenced by that same entity, right? This can be done to discredit genuine opposition, create a false narrative, divert attention from real issues, justify regression or censorship, gather intel or on dissenters. So it's really important to keep these five goals in mind, because Esau is gonna use this, to discredit the opposition that we have to his system, create a false narrative of us being, terrorists or extremists, divert attention from the real issues, which is what we're pointing out, that this system is going down, that the JWOs, the tiny hats, are not the real people of Israel, the truths, that we're bringing out. They want to divert the attention from that and instead point to us being extremists, a hate group or racist or whatever they want to label us as, right? Justify regression or censorship, and this is a big one, hate speech or defamatory language, or however they want to define it, right, is one of the main reasons behind the agenda to censor the internet, to censor social media websites, to censor blogs or whatever it is, right? The idea that people out there are pushing, dangerous narratives that are inciting violence, that are inciting hate against one group or another, and this is their justification for, censorship, and it's going to be a broad brush. It's not going to be against just those who they identify as such. It's just going to be a broad brush across all spectrum of society, and of course to gather intel on dissenters. Now, before I go any further, let me bring out a precept. This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Let me read that in the NLT. Right? It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. So we should be, familiar with the schemes of the enemy, and this is one, controlled opposition. Right? So it goes forward to say, controlled opposition can take many forms, including government-funded NGOs. Right? So these are non-government organizations that are funded by the government. An example that should come to mind is Black Wall Street, right? Politicians or parties with hidden agenda, media outlets promoting bias or false information. And we see that, in the form of propaganda warfare from these quote-unquote mainstream media sources. Online trolls or influencers. We've seen recently where influencers were actually enlisted to push particular narratives through the pandemic, and also even now with this presidential election that's going on in the United States, certain music artists, other celebrities and influencers are being enlisted, right, to prop up the campaigns of the different of the two presidential candidates. The same thing happens here in Jamaica. You know, they call it building a dub plate. You know, the popular dancehall artists of the time are enlisted, you know, to create, you know, dub plates of popular songs that they know people are already, you know, hooked onto, right? And they create that, and they create those dub plates, you know, and they change around the lyrics, you know, a bit to promote the message of one particular electoral candidate versus another, right? The concept of controlled opposition highlight the importance of critical thinking, meaning being circumspect and verifying information to ensure authenticity. You know, this is why we encourage brothers. If you go online and you see a particular news post, and that news post is saying that, you know, World War III has kicked off, you know, or something of the sort, right? It's pretty much highlighting a prophecy that we're waiting to happen. Verify that source, particularly if it seems too good to be true, because when something is too good to be true, more times than not, it is actually too good to be true. So, you know, verify that information before you start spreading it around in the WhatsApp groups and posting it online and doing videos off of it. For example, I've seen, you know, brothers saying that, you know, that they what do you call them again? Why can't I remember them? Klaus Schwab and his ilk, forgot what they're called, is saying that, you know, billions of people are gonna die by 2025 or something like that. You know, how how would they be able to come out and say something like that without there being significant backlash? You know, so let's go on. It says here are some historical and contemporary examples, right? Because it asked me if I want more examples. So it says Operation Mockingbird, right? 1950s to 1970s. The CIA funded and influenced numerous journalists, and this is still going on now. It hasn't stopped in the 1970s, right? The CIA funded and influenced numerous journalists, media outlets, organizations to shape public opinion and undermine leftist movement. COINTELPRO, which again, like I said, this is not just limited to the 50s to 60s to the 70s. The FBI infiltrated and disrupted civil rights and anti-war organizations. And if you notice this time, 1956 to 1971 is when the civil rights movement was really, you know, kicking off, especially in the 1960s with Martin Luther King, the Black Panther movement, and Malcolm X, right? These were examples of controlled opposition, right? And where those oppositions became unruly, for example, the Black Panther, they infiltrated and did what? Got more intel and was able to execute a couple leaders of the Black Panther, Huey Newton and that other one that was executed in you know, that movie Judas and the Black Messiah, right? Another example here is a contemporary example: AstroTurf movements, industry-funded grassroots movement like the Tea Party. You know, a lot of these different organizations that you see protesting against, you know, the big companies are actually funded by those big companies, right? So they're benefiting corporate interests. Government-funded NGOs like Endowment for Democracy, the Open Society Foundation, you know, state-controlled media, RT, and they call out RT, and this AI calls out RT and Press TV, but interestingly enough, it doesn't call out any Western media sources. But those are state-controlled. Well, let's not put it state controlled. Those are still controlled, maybe not directly by the state, but they are controlled by the powers that be, who then control the state. For example, Rupert Murdoch owns a significant portion of the media landscape in America, right? And Rupert Murdoch also owns a lot of politicians and also the ear of the president, whosoever is that sitting president. Men like him own politicians, and men like him also own media, right? Notable individuals, so they gave the two most obvious ones they threw under the bus: Alex Jones and Joseph Ventura, who we've been known are set up, you know, for the longest while. Christopher Green is another example that comes to mind, right? Characteristics of controlled opposition: amplifying divisive or fringe views. You know, so you might see somebody with a Hebrew Israelite page, and they have a name like, you know, All Praise to Yars, or you know, the original Hebrew Israelite, or some crappy something like that, and they're on there commenting on posts and saying, death to the white man, or, the white you crackers are gonna go into slavery, or something really extreme like that. That is an example of controlled opposition. That is an example of an agent provocateur that has been set up to amplify, the views that they say we have, right? Discrediting genuine opposition or activists promoting conspiracy theories or disinformation, receiving funding or support from suspicious sources, right? So before I go further, I wanted to, get a few more precepts, right? So this is 2 Corinthians 11, and I want to start from verse 12, and this is in the NLT. It says, "But I will continue doing what I always have done. This will undercut those who are looking for opportunity to boast that their work is just like ours." And we see other camps out there who are out there with guns, literal rifles at camp, as the Sakar said, sticks at the camp, and the ISUPK, they post videos of them going to gun ranges and these different things. These men are set up. These men are controlled opposition set up. They are agent provocateurs, because there's no way that these men can be spiritual and following the same doctrine and be out there with guns, right? It says these people are fake apostles. They are deceitful workers who disguise themselves as apostles of Yahweh Shai. But I am not surprised even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no wonder that his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. In the end, they will get their punishment. They will get the punishment their wicked deeds deserve. Because ultimately, the Lord is going to expose who is for the truth and who is not. Right? The wheat and the tares are going to grow together until the time of harvesting come. Right? This is Luke 20, and I'll start from verse 19, also in the NLT. "The teachers of righteous law and the leading priests wanted to arrest Yahushua immediately, because they realized he was telling the story about them, meaning against them, meaning the parable. He was pretty much exposing them and their wickedness. They were the wicked farmers, but they were afraid of the people's reactions." This is what they do. It says, "Watching for their opportunity, the leaders sent spies pretending to be honest men. They tried to get Yahushua to say something that could be reported to the Roman governor, so he would arrest Yahushua." Right? "Teacher," they said, "we know that you speak and teach what is right and are not influenced by what others think." So they're trying to gaslight him. "You teach the way of God truthfully." And they said, "Now tell us, is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" He saw through their trickery and said, "Show me a Roman coin whose picture and title are stamped on it." "Caesar's," they replied. "Well then," he said, "give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to Yahweh what belongs to Yahweh." So they failed to trap him by what he said in front of people. Instead, they were amazed by his answer and they became silent. So we also should show this discernment of spirit. We should be able to discern when men are trying to pull us out. You shouldn't be quick, matter of fact, the elder Ariala said it. When you're on social media, you should be Clark Kent. You should be I don't know nothing Joe, right? You are oblivious to everything. You're just there. You're just observing, right? Don't try to be the super duper Israelite, on social media, cussing out people, throwing precepts about the place, telling people that they're gonna die, and a bunch of stuff like that. The only time you should be like that is when you're out there on the highways and the byways. And also, if somebody genuinely, comes to you, like maybe a co-worker or something like that, comes to you and asks you genuinely, maybe they saw you on the highways and the byways one time and they want to know what you're about, and you discern that their spirit is genuine, you delve into stuff, but not to the point where you're cussing out people at your job. You're cussing out your boss because he's an Edomite, or he looks like an Edomite. No, right? Because then you trap yourself, right? You should be able, to be as wise as serpents, but harmless as doves, right? This is Acts 2 and 20, verse 27. For I have not shunned to declare unto you all the counsel of God. Take heed therefore unto yourselves to all the flock, over the which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers, to feed the church of Yahweh, which he hath purchased with his own blood. For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter among you, not sparing the flock. Right? Also of your own selves men shall arise, teaching perverse things, to draw away disciples after them. So be mindful of these men who crop up and claim to be Hebrew Israelites and are, amplifying divisive or fringe views. You know, be careful of these men and avoid them. There's an example here that they gave. Here we go. At number 5 here, infiltrating of social movements. Law enforcement or intelligence agencies infiltrating and influences social movements like Occupy Wall Street or Black Lives Matter. We've been saying this, ever since that the whole thing happened, in the early 2020s, that Black Lives Matter was set up, by the enemy. It's an agenda. It's controlled opposition. I believe I even did a video on it. It's controlled opposition. So brothers should be able to see through these things and to see through men who are not sincere, right? 2 Peter 2:1, for there were false brethren among the false prophets among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Esau will want to make the truth crumble from within. So have men sneak in and teach things that they are not, for filthy lucre's sake. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. These men are they're gonna pull blame to the ministry and ultimately justify Esau coming down, on the men of the Lord. He says, and through covetousness they with feigned words make merchandise of you. And we see examples of that from the IUIC, the Sakari, selling prayers, selling Hebrew names, selling himself as a life coach, making merchandise of the truth. The brothers in the States call it grifting, right? It says, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. So we know these men are going to be ultimately judged, right? Romans 16 and verse 17, no, I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses, contrary to the doctrine which ye have heard, and avoid them. Avoid these men. Don't be seen congregating with them. Don't be caught. Let Esau have to manufacture the connection between us and them, right? Let it not. Don't make his job easier, right? Let him have to fabricate the connection between us and them, right? It says, for they that are such serve not our Lord Yahushua, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. Right? I believe we can wrap here. This is 1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit where they are for Yahweh, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. So hopefully this lesson was edifying. Until next time, Shalom.